Yes. Yeah. Anyway, it's fine. Yeah. So basically, today's session is more about data science interviews and the type of data science interviews I am talking about today is mostly like ML based because uh, data science is a very misused term, right? Like every company has a very different expectation from the role. So applied science role is something which is unquestionable, like it is what it is, and it will involve ML. It will involve reading some research papers, implementing those, productionizing everything, right? But data science is kind of gray area. Like some companies will treat data science as in you're going into measurement and analytics, things like that, right? So the first thing is like in data science, of course, now they're branching their extra stuff now, but majorly you have these three verticals like analytics, data engineering, and then science part, right? And in each of these roles also you have many different roles. And now these two are also merging now, like data engineers also do these things, and like analytics guys also do data engineering things. So this is already merging. Uh, Science and analytics and science and data engineering is also merging, and new roles expectation are being created, right? So now the expectation is becoming very insane in that sense that how can a very junior person know everything, right? So that's the challenge, and it's okay not to know everything. Like you don't need to like follow all the LinkedIn influencers, right? Like they themselves have started doing job like 3 years back, 2 years back, and they talk big. So, anyways, the point is today I want to talk about this pillar, which is science, and the kind of roles in this is like data scientist, which is more science heavy, research scientist, applied scientist, economist, let's say AI scientist, and things like that, which is the new role, right? So, what is the expectation of those kind of roles, and what kind of interviews you can get, right, in these kind of roles? So, so how do you start? Like, if you are a super junior person, like you have to build your foundational skills. You have to work on your projects, get some hands-on experience. You have to build a portfolio to showcase that at an entry level, you can create some value, and then you apply for jobs, right? So basically, that's the initial stage. And in general, like the idea for this kind of career is that you have to like have some kind of foundations, like some probability, some statistics, some linear algebra, some calculus. You don't need like super high level of expertise in these areas, but at least the idea is you know a bit of it at some level that when needed you can go back and search and quickly come up with solutions. And on top of your foundations, you have this machine learning thinking, which is all of machine learning and whatever you see in classical ML, deep learning, reinforcement learning, and how to apply it to real problems, business problems, right? So that is a structure of skill set in these roles, at least at a technical level. But as you grow, there is other aspects which might be non-technical. Some of the tools you might need to be familiar with in these roles. Some of them I have listed, and with new developments in transformers, there are more newer tools you might be needing in your job, right? So this is pretty old school tools I have listed here, but now there are more tools you need to be aware of, and some of the new tools are even simpler than the ones listed here, right? So, okay, I see some chat. By optimization, do you mean operations research? Yes, something like operations research, let's say, uh, but not at a depth of algorithms, right? For example, how do you solve a linear program, right? It, if you're in a university, it's yeah, you should know and you should take those courses. But operations research also involves a lot of algorithms like uh, Danzig's algorithm, right? How do you so Danzig's algorithm, worst case complexity is very high, but in practice it's very fast, and that's what we everyone uses. So uh, so anyways, yeah, operation research type of optimization, yes, and also continuous optimization. Yeah, MIP, constraint-based programming, yes, and all continuous convex optimization, non-convex optimization, things like that. Not at a very expertise level. You don't need to know also a lot of theory around it, but at least at application level, you should be very comfortable in taking a business problem and framing that business problem to some. Right now, if people are confused, I'm reading the chat and answering that question. So yes, you have to like basically should be able to take a business problem, and if it aligns with optimization kind of solution, then you should be able to pose that business problem as an optimization problem. Yes, operation research style. Yes, genetic algorithm not super popular, but at low dimensions, like in RL also there are some types of genetic algorithm which are used. So yes, but mutation and all like not really. Like it's so domain specific. Just coming with an idea of what is a mutation is super difficult. Uh, but yeah, just commenting on that comment. But the idea is not like to go super deep into solutions or something. Just yeah, simulated engineering is a concept which is used everywhere, including transformers. So it's an important idea. Uh, Even while inference, you have a temperature parameter which uh, transforms your distribution over keywords. So what happens in transformer, right? Like you sample the next words and next word. So basically, temperature is something which helps you kind of modify the distribution, right? So, anyways, like not going through solutions, but yeah, simulated annealing is something which is fine. You should know. Now, when you apply for jobs, like of course, these all things are obvious, but just trying to list them. First is you research your roles and you try to understand your strength, your weaknesses, and try to find a fit, right? And what companies will have those roles, and you can talk to your friends if they're working there. They'll also tell you what is the experience of working there in a certain role. Uh, you have to do this research because you cannot just message a friend or someone you don't know for a referral and assume that they will figure out where you fit, right? You have to tell them where you fit. Otherwise, forget about referrals. Uh, so so yeah, I mean basically you have to know what role you fit in. And even in data science domain or data domain, there are many roles in the same company. So the best would be like choose 3 job opening in the career page. Uh, if you are asking for a referral from an unknown person or a friend also like he is also a busy person sometimes. It's not easy for him to find a role for you. So he will blindly uh, give you referral to random jobs, right? In some familiar territory. But if you like find top 3 job openings which you like, and then let's say to an unknown person, you give them a short intro, you tell them your experience in a very short message, you send your resume, and you that's it for now, right? Like let them reply. But once they reply, like or in some way they interact, like tell them that you are interested in a referral, and if they want to refer you, like so the idea is basically if you are messaging someone who doesn't know you, uh, and let's say they're senior to you, right? Like they don't have the time to ask you your resume, right? Like in the first message itself, introduce yourself, give all the information needed in a very short way so that it attracts him to read the message and open your resume, right? It's your job. He will not ask you again, messaging you back that, okay, like, please share your resume, right? Okay, sure, Shashank. You can unmute yourself, obviously. Yeah.
Hello, Devender.
Yeah.
Hi, thank you first of all for organizing this. I have a question and it's troubling me for a long time. So let's say I am at a certain level today and I identified, let's say, the shortcomings in my profile. As you said, like maybe I don't have projects or I need to learn about some techniques. But I am noticing this trend like by the time you learn, let's say you cover up your shortcomings, but the company job postings, they demand extra skills. So how do you solve this, chase problem? Like you learn something, then the companies for the same role, they demand, some extra stuff. Then again, you analyze yourself and then you see, okay, I'm still lacking few skills. So how, I mean, as you can understand that learning new, let's say even frameworks or some concepts takes a bit of time. Obviously, it depends on the learning speed of someone, but eventually it's not like
Mhm. Yeah. So suddenly I cannot hear you. Can you guys hear me?
yes.
Okay. Yeah. So the idea is basically, uh, if you have been working and you are an experienced person, you will have a subset of skills in the job opening, right?
Okay.
And uh, and if the gap is very high, if you feel like if you have experience, you will know, right? So if you feel like the gap is very high, you have to spend like a couple of months to have some exposure to it. That is one thing. Other thing is like if you are really good at your job and you have that kind of uh, career record, then even if some things are missing, you will get an interview. And after the interview, the assumption is you qualify the interviews, right? So either ways, they will ask what they will ask. Uh, but if you have a good track record of your career, then getting interview may not be a problem. But in the end, you have to qualify the interviews. That's one thing. Other thing is like, let's say you are not getting interviews, then I would say you have to spend some time with the topics you're not familiar with, at least get some exposure to it, build some tiny projects to get confidence in it, and then have those keywords in your resume as new skills, right? So, so I would say that, yeah, I mean, if the job profile is very, very far off from your previous experience, then you might have to spend some time. Uh, but yeah, I can understand also like in some situations, if you have had a good career, then they will let it go and give you interviews. But in the end, you have to qualify the interviews.
Okay, I got an idea. Okay, merci. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Then obviously, like second one is not easily doable. Like if you unless you have some friends in some companies, it's not easy to do. But yeah, if you can get some info about it, which I have already covered in the first point, then you know that you fit in the company or not, right? Like if your friend is telling you what is the culture, what are kind of work they do at that profile and stuff like that. Then obviously you prepare for interview. Like a lot of times now, without preparation, it's super risky. So you have to prepare for a couple of months at least, I would say, nowadays. Now, if you're interviewing at FANG and all, like you have to really prepare because they will always have a DS around, right? So you have to prepare. But there are many companies who doesn't have DS around and they are still proud companies, great companies. So you have to plan accordingly. Uh, but yeah, you have to prepare a bit. Also,
Hey,
brush up.
Dave, real quick, do you have a limit on the number of people? Because I'm not seeing admits, but the WhatsApp group is buzzing.
I'm not sure. So you can just share the link. This.
I will do that. I'll share the
Yeah.
link.
No, there's no limit as such.
Okay.
The only thing is that if people have registered or trying to register after the call has started, then maybe there could be some issues. But yeah, feel free to share this meeting link, and if they can join, they can join. Because this link is coming to me through TalkMate. So uh, they have higher limits, at least 100 people, I think. So I don't see that as an issue.
Okay, fine. I'll
Yeah.
handle it. I'll handle it.
Yeah. So, anyways,
I think they can handle 200 plus also. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah. So basically, you prepare for interviews, and I would say that whatever be your seniority, give at least a month or two. This year I did an experiment. I didn't prepare that much, but you should. Like so yeah. I mean, I would say that prepare for at least 2 months, 1 month. brush up on foundational things like if you're a senior, like you obviously know you have been giving taking interviews and stuff like that. So you have an idea of non-negotiable skills, right? Like if someone asks you a question from a non-negotiable skill or some super easy, obvious question, those questions are something you cannot screw it up, right? You have to give the right answer, sometimes a perfect answer. So I would say that brush up on things which you feel is non-negotiable in the role. And if it's an advanced topic or recent topic, it's okay to have a discussion in the interviews, and you should be knowledgeable enough to have a discussion even if you're not on top of the topic. For example, transformer is something which is so dominant right now. I cannot imagine not knowing transformer, for example, right? So things like that. So there are certain skills which are non-negotiable or certain topics which are non-negotiable, and you should brush up. This is true even for engineering, by the way. Yeah, then obviously you take a referral if you can. And I'm telling you, LinkedIn works beautifully. Even if you don't know the person, like you try to message people that you saw this job opening and you are interested. Would they refer you? Maybe they will, maybe they will not. But you have to explain them that why you fit on this role, right? Again, you have to write a very short communication skill, right? That is important. It should be short enough. The message should be short enough that they will read it. It should have enough information that they get the confidence that they should open the resume. And if the resume has enough information and enough quality of work, they will refer you, right? So LinkedIn works beautifully for data science roles. Referrals actually don't work, I would say. Blind referrals don't work. I think so. You have to either find someone who knows you, or you have to message to unknown people, and your resume should be good enough that they get the confidence to refer you. And sometimes they are hiring managers, so referral is direct, right? So yeah, so you have to basically figure that part out. It's not easy to get referrals, but you have to try. LinkedIn works beautifully, for me at least. Then obviously, like you apply, some of them will reply, a lot of them will not reply, and that's fine. Like this year, I applied to 10 places, 4 of them replied, right? So that happens. So you have to apply to many places. And then once you get an offer, you have to negotiate. On negotiation, basically, having a competing offer is a very strong negotiation factor. Not having a competing offer is something which will make your negotiation power weaker in some sense. Another powerful way to negotiate is that if you're super confident of your skill, that you can, let's say you reject a job offer, they give you an offer, you don't like the numbers. If you feel like you are skilled enough to get another job at another company, then you reject that offer. If you have that kind of confidence, then also you have negotiation power. That you will not, you don't, never reject an offer. Always say that I don't like the offer. Don't reject ever. So just keep it hanging and never say yes because you don't like it. And in your mind, you have given up the job. Now it's their responsibility to either give you a better offer or let you know that they cannot do better. So that also gives you a lot of negotiation power if you feel like you can get another job, even if you don't have an offer currently. And of course, like if you get rejected, like very politely accept it and ask for feedback from various people if you can. And whatever feedback you get, like take that feedback and read between the lines and try to understand your weakness. It's not easy to understand the feedback because it's super polite usually. Okay, there's a comment. How is the job call rates nowadays? It is very much dependent on your current profile. Yeah, I mean, for me it was 40%, right? 4 out of 10 gave me a call back. So I don't know. Like it depends on your profile. But yeah, it has become very hard nowadays. But it is changing. Today only I saw a post where the news was something like Amazon fired 30,000 people, but now they want to hire 11,000 people. So the cycle is turning, I feel. These things are always cyclical. Growth companies overhire, like they hire more headcounts than needed. And when business is not doing well, just to normalize overhiring, they will have to let some people go. But I feel like now all that firing and stuff like that, enough has been done. And now for last 2 months, there are new job openings. I can see it on LinkedIn and other places. So yeah, things can change. But yeah, basically take the feedback if they want to give you the feedback. Usually, like, yeah, they can stay silent also. So you reach out to them. What is the status of the loop? They can stay silent, or they could get back to you. If they get back to you, and if the offer is negative, like you ask for feedback, right? And you learn from the feedback, you have to read between the lines. They will not tell you that you screwed up in this or that, right? They will tell you in a very polite way, and you have to figure it out. Again, some comments. Yeah, a job more aligned with LLMs or agentic AI? Not at all true. There are a lot of classical ML jobs paying more than agentic jobs also sometimes. Yeah, I don't believe it that there's only agentic jobs. In fact, I would say that there are a lot of agentic jobs and there are a lot of people who know agentic stuff, not at a depth, let's say superficially. Now, the challenge would be like there's so much people searching for the same job, applying to the same job. And that is another reason why you might be struggling, right? So, and if you want a high profile agentic job or LLM job, you need to really be on top of it, right? And then there are companies where you are fine tuning LLMs, you are doing pre training. All those rules are also there. Yesterday only I saw an NVIDIA job opening, which was about pre training and fine tuning and stuff like that, right? So, yeah, I mean, if you need those kind of jobs, you have to be on top of it. But otherwise, I feel like the space is very, very crowded. And that's fine. Like, you have to apply where there are a lot of jobs, and there are a lot of new jobs in this space. So I can understand. But traditional data scientists are also getting agentic AI jobs. So I don't know any reason why traditional data scientists should worry too much about it. But you have to brush up on these topics, which you can easily do in a couple of weeks if you are already a data scientist. Okay. Now, another thing which happens nowadays is like you might want to switch roles or you might want to switch industries, right? And doing both is not easy. Either you stay in the same industry and change the role, or same role you change the industry, right? Changing both is very, very difficult for most people. So I would say that change one of them at a time. Current jobs for MLAI, those are still around MLAI or evolved. It's a mix of both. Like, but I'm telling you, there was a startup in Europe and I was talking to them, and their whole interview process was super heavy on old school ML. And it's a Gen AI company. You have to do fine tuning, all kinds of things. So it's a pure play agentic AI company whose interview process is filled with classical ML, and we'll talk about that also today. So yeah, I mean, the old school foundational stuff is still there. If you want a core agentic AI job where you train models or you build some agentic applications, non-engineering side of it, you need those core ML skills, which a data scientist also needs, or the applied scientist also needs. IT service company seems to be okay hiring traditional DSML for Gen AI role. I would say that even product companies are okay with that. But B, yeah. So yeah. So basically, changing the industry and roles simultaneously can be challenging in general. So either stay in the same industry and change the role, then people will be generous enough to consider you, or in the same role, if you change industry, in data science it doesn't even matter, so it's fine. A couple of things which are super important is basically the skills, right? Like how do you do something. So I would say that you have to learn to be a team player, because building a product is interdisciplinary, and engineers, product managers, data scientists, everyone works together to build it, right? So teamwork is something which is a good skill to have. Networking is something which can really help you, like having a strong professional network. And also take advice from your professional network, take advice from your old managers if you feel you need that. And by advice, I don't mean some technical advice, but like really hard problems, right, in your career. And usually those won't be technical problems. But yeah, basically having a strong network is good. And a lot of times, at least I personally don't network. Like, I feel like networking happens, you don't do it. Like, let's say you go to a conference, and if someone gave a talk, if you find that talk interesting, you go to them and talk to them. Or you go to them, you talk to them, you can ask them, like, can you contribute in their project? It is not really networking in my definition. It's more like you're going to someone whose work is you find very interesting, or just catching up with old friends who are working somewhere else. These are natural daily interactions. You don't have to make an effort to do these things, right? So for me, networking is just catching up with old people. If you go to a conference, just talk to people. A lot of juniors will also talk to you, but you also talk to other people. And in a conference, like maybe there's some familiar faces, you catch up with them. If you find a professor, talk to them, whatever, right? So a lot of times I feel networking is not like you go and network. Like I don't understand that. Like if you go and network, you'll take the phone number also. You'll never message them again in your life, if that is the kind of networking you are looking for. So I would say that networking should be natural. It should be driven by curiosity and not like you're going there for networking. Because what will you do with that phone number after that? Nothing. So it doesn't matter. So those kind of networking I don't believe in. Like natural curiosity driven networking is a natural way to network and build strong connections and bonds. Job search, okay, it's a small thing in your career. Yeah, basically the other aspects which is also important, like having a fit mind and body, right? Altruism is something which is super important, and like it correlates well with high performance employees. So you should read this thing in highlighted. I have highlighted. People who aim to lift others during every step of their own journey often achieve better outcomes for themselves, and this is research driven. It's not just a statement. So if you believe in statistics, help other people, right? So yeah, I mean that's what it is. And then in the end, even if you're super good, there's something called imposter syndrome, which everyone has, I feel, whether skilled, unskilled, whatever. And the thing is, no one knows everything. And once you realize that, you can learn whatever you want to learn with confidence and not worry about what the things you don't know about, right? And like no one can know everything in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. Even in a lifetime, I feel like not everyone can know everything. And if you only learn from your experiences only, then so like your space of what you know will be very, very small. So you have to read. Like people who say, oh, I don't have this experience, I cannot apply for this job. Like who is stopping you to read that topic and then apply for that job, right? It is our own barriers. So I would say that have a mindset that you can learn, right? So you don't need to have that experience on the job only. Like life is just too short to learn only from your experiences. So make sure you also read a bit. And even if you're not interested in theory, read the technical blogs of companies where they have written a blog post of a practical solution for a problem statement or a business problem statement, right? So if you're not interested in theory, still read. So I would say that, yeah. So that's all about like mindset and how to go about it. Now comes like what are the types of interviews in applied sciences. I'll just read the comments. There's some of them. Do startups not require you to be an expert or really good to get hired as opposed to product-based companies? It depends on the startup, Antariksh. Uh, uh, there are multiple things in parallel, right? Like if you're a well-funded startup, they are very selective and they would expect people to be really good. They also pay you really well and they pay you enough that no one else will hire you after that, right? So not a problem. Like uh, there are some companies who are well funded and they will pay you the top dollars and also make you work for those dollars, and that's fine. Uh, but product-based companies are more structured in the interview process and expectations are very clear. There's also a lot of good talent in product companies. So again, it's very company specific. You cannot generalize. Personal discipline I have never followed. Trying to do that never happened. Yes, discipline is something which is not easy to cultivate. But one hack, if you want, like if you let's say you want to do something, first thing is your job can never be your top priority, right? Like because your manager will make you work. You don't have to prioritize it. He will prioritize it for you. So if that is anyways the default priority, why worry about it? So that's one thing. Second thing is if you want to learn something, right? Like once your day starts, like let's say 10 a.m. Once your day starts, the day is no longer yours. It is for the job, it is for some other responsibilities. So the only time which is yours is before 10 a.m., let's say, right? So do something before 10 a.m. Read for 1 hour, whatever. So that's one hack. I struggle with DSA. What roles are there in MLDS where without DSA I can start my career and survive? DSA takes time. Every day do one problem. I agree with VR. DSA does take time. It does take a lot of work, but there are a lot of companies who don't ask you very hard DSA problems. And a lot of cloud companies are included in that. For example, Microsoft has no DSA round at all for applied science positions. Uh, uh, Flipkart doesn't have a DSA round. I think InMobi doesn't have a DSA round. Swiggy has a DSA round, but it's not super difficult. But in 1 hour, they will ask so many questions, so many easy questions that it is a struggle anyways. It will be a mix of, I'll talk about it in the interview types. But yeah, if DSA round is there in the loop, you have to easily spend like 1.5 months easily. Like we have pattern based lead code question. So was max chance to practice. Yeah, there's something called blind 75 and things like that. So blind 75 is basically a list of 75 DSA questions, which are super popular in interviews. So if you try to cover blind 75, the coverage is pretty broad and you kind of learn the core concepts. So if you want to practice DSA and if you're in DS role, like maybe you cannot spend a lot of time. So just focus on blind 75. Similarly, it is for ML rounds. Is it based on personal portfolio, company projects? Okay, Ankit. So there are patterns in ML, just like lead code. And if you think about it, the amount of time an engineer has given on lead code to get into Google is actually many years. In the same way, if you just study ML for many years, those pattern will be in you. So you don't have to like prepare additionally. And I've also seen like people who actually care about DS skills have very difficult ML rounds. And then those kind of pattern, like, for example, as a data scientist, when I do lead code, it is like a bare minimum I'm trying to do, right? And that thing I cannot do with ML rounds. Similarly, an engineer can not do a bare minimum for lead code. He can do a bare minimum for ML. So it is a person and what role you are interviewing for, and what is the primary skill you need for that role. If the primary skill is ML, the hope is you have spent many years with ML. If the primary skill is engineering, the hope is you do a lot of lead code, you do a lot of system design, you're pretty good with operating system, networking, cloud, stuff like that, right? So if you're an engineer, like lead code is something which is primary. If you're a data scientist, ML is something which is primary. The primary skill is something where you have to be good in textbook sense, not like some patterns, right? But there are a lot of websites I feel nowadays where they have some patterns in there, but the depth is usually not there. Like let's say the famous ones like Byte.Go, right? Like what is the depth of ML in there? Like nothing, right? Uh, like you will be miserably rejected in an ML interview if you prepare through that Byte.Go, which is super famous for system design. You can only crack meta and stuff, which doesn't really care about your ML skills. For normal people, like there are specialized roles where they check your ML and stuff, but in general, meta ML is not that difficult. Okay, next one is, do you have any book recommendations? Okay, I'll tell those things later. Recommendation for ML. Okay, so there are some resource questions. Okay, fine. So basically, these are the kind of rounds you can get at some companies, subset of them, all of them, whatever, right? Some of them are actually repetitive, but there are these kind of rounds I've seen in ML roles. Yeah, I mean, for interviews, I guess it's good for system design, but I again feel like if you're an engineer, you should do more. Like, for example, reading designing data intensive applications book, studying distributed systems. And once you do that, like system design is something which should naturally come to you. But yeah, Byte.Go is good for system design preparation. Software system design, ML system design, I'm not sure, maybe. Because in the end, the answers is what matters. And ML system design, if you look at the structure of it, it's also company specific. For example, I don't follow that standard structure of ML system design, and I'm fine. But a lot of people like really strictly follow ML system design patterns. Like these are the 10 steps they have to go through while discussing a problem. I don't do that. It should naturally come to me, I feel. But yeah, I mean, these websites are good in terms of some kind of structured thinking. But for example, if the interviewer asks you that modify this loss function, you don't have anything to say if you prepare for from these websites. So it is not enough alone. But if you have foundational knowledge, then those websites are pretty good in terms of it covers like 10 products. Like if you take the subscription for Byte.Go, it has some 10 to 12 products covered in ML system design use cases, right? So yeah, I mean, you can take the subscription, go through those 12 case studies, but it will lack depth and you will not be able to answer any cross questions. It is interview is not one-sided, right? You keep blabbering whatever is in the Byte.Go website. They will ask you something in the middle, and if you don't have the foundational knowledge, you'll be stuck. If you are not speaking, can you mute yourself, whoever it is? Okay. I guess Alex Chips books. Yeah, Chips book is pretty good, but again, not enough. But yeah, for MLEs and all, I think Alex and Chips book is good, but data science is not like MLE role, right? It's more than that. In any of my AML interviews, they asked regarding questions around sharding and all. The discussion was about vector databases. It can happen in AI roles, and a lot of times it is AI engineering role, which has a word engineer in it. So if you are interviewing for a role which has a word engineer in it, better be prepared to be an engineer. Okay. Okay, so these are the type of rounds which can happen. First one is ML design or ML system design. And what happens there is like you are giving like a business problem in one statement. For example, build a fraud detection system, or build a churn prediction system, or build a search system, build a recommendation system, build an advertising system, all kinds of questions, right? It's a very business kind of a problem. And the idea is not focusing on engineering, only focusing on ML. And why only focusing on ML? You can cover a huge spectrum of that problem. And if you are able to capture that essence in the interviews, and this I'm telling you from expectation point of view, right? Like if it's an ML design round, it should focus on ML. Don't focus too much on engineering. You will waste time not covering important aspects. It should be like 5-10 minutes you should spend on, like if it's a 1 hour interview, you should not spend more than 15 minutes in engineering part. 45 minutes you should spend on ML, right? So ML system design, you should focus on ML and things around ML, data features, biases, optimization strategies, classes of model you can consider, pros and cons of various choices you can make, orchestration choices, things like that, right? But significant part of the time you can spend on ML and data choices, feature engineering, and they will cross question you once in a while and you address those things. So ML design round is that, and it is there to test your problem solving skills in ML. Don't forget that. There's a system design number 11, which is about engineering system design, where you should spend most of your time. Even if it's an ML problem, in an engineering system design, you should spend most of your time in engineering aspects. So you should be careful about which round it is. The next one is ML breadth. So ML breadth is more about like, again, it's a subjective thing, you know. I mean, some interviewers feel like depth is breadth and breadth is depth, and it is exchange, but it's fine. In the end, you will have all kinds of interviews. So let's take breadth and depth together. But the idea is, are you good in ML, which involves the theory around it, the applications of theory in a certain context of business, familiarity with the kind of interaction which happens in the problem statement. If there are multiple models involved, does one model influence the other model? How do you fix that, and things like that, which can also be part of ML design also, some of these aspects. But ML breadth and depth is more towards your theoretical understanding. Another variation of ML depth I have seen recently is rapid fire round. There, they will ask you some 20 questions in 30 minutes, or let's say 15 questions in 30 minutes. And basically the idea is you should not spend more than 2 minutes per question. Question is pretty clear, answer should be pretty clear and precise. In 2 minutes, you should answer it. And this kind of rounds are usually non-negotiable. So they will ask you a lot of easy questions, and you are expected to give perfect answers. Then there's coding, and there could be various kinds of coding. There could be ML coding, DSA, probability stats coding. All of them can be in one round. There could be multiple coding rounds for each of them also. All possibilities are there depending on the company. Some companies will take like all three in one. So you are expected to solve like 6 coding problem in 1 hour, but easy ones. But in each category, you'll get like 2 problems. That can happen. Otherwise, there will be one ML coding round 1 hour, one DSA round 1 hour. That is also possible. It depends on company to company.
What is a probability question in coding? Stats question in coding?
So usually things like don't use any library and implement cross entropy, or some sampling question like sample from this kind of distribution, or there's some other distribution which you know, using that sampler sample from some other distribution. There's an unbiased coin, but you have to simulate a biased coin using that unbiased coin, things like that. ML is more towards like core algorithm, ML algorithms. So you're expected to either write a pseudocode or actual code, of some classical ML algo usually, but it could also be some components of transformer. DSA is standard data structures, but for data science, usually they don't ask really hard questions. But they could if it's a dedicated round. But again, no comparison to engineering DSA rounds. Here you are for data science, like if you don't give the optimal space complexity, it is fine. Like if you can reach close to, let's say, optimal time complexity or a non-trivial solution is also good enough, right? So expectations are different, questions are the same.
In the ML coding round, is it pandas and in PyTorch you'll have to remember the steps?
Not necessarily. They could say that implement it in NumPy.
Oh, so I mean, so people, I mean, at senior level, even researcher level, they ask you for coding like no NumPy, PyTorch, and common functions in NumPy.
Yeah, even more, right? Like if you're a researcher, assumption is that you know ML algorithms. So most of our researchers that you should code from scratch, right? And if the libraries are allowed, they will tell you.
So at the end of this, can you put up a list of coding ML questions and probability and stats questions, like you mentioned?
I mean,
Somebody can take it up. One each person can take up one. Maybe it'll help all of us.
I mean, I feel like you just do a Claude query and it will give you a little list of questions nowadays. So I don't feel like there's any effort involved. Just ask Claude to give 20 questions in each category for a certain level of seniority, and it will do a pretty good job. Nowadays, again, I don't know about junior levels, but recently I've been interviewing for staff level, and take-home coding assignment has become very common. And recently I was talking for a principal scientist level, and again, coding assignment was there. So I feel like at senior level now, take-home coding assignments are becoming a thing. They give you 24 to 48 hours with flexibility of deadlines and stuff like that. But the idea is you get a good problem with a good large enough data set with a complicated enough schema. And you have to do exploratory data analysis, commentary on your choices, write a executive summary of whatever you have done, and then build a solution and proper code and stuff like that. Which kind of actually it's a good thing, I would say, because if you test the same skill in 1 hour, it's not easy. So you should be happy that you are getting 1 day or 2 days.
Yeah. To give an example, when I did the TopTal interview, they gave me a project. They said 6 days. It took me all of those 6 days. And I'll be brutally honest, I used to always optimize for RMSE because this was a time series prediction. And I then learned about MAPE, what is MAPE? Percentage error, mean average percentage error. So you come to know better metrics that you can use for, I think doing a lot of projects helps a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, whenever you do a data science project, like the top thing to do in the beginning is do a lot of research on how to measure success. Like if you cannot measure, there's no point of complicated ML model. But yeah, I get it. The more things you do, the better. But even if you don't do a lot of things, just spending a couple of hours with Claude to see what are the options for different metrics, pros and cons of different metrics, really helps you to make good choices. And also, like, pros and cons of metrics are pretty important skill to have as a data scientist, not just for coding assignment, but even for other ML breadth depth round, design rounds. Like,
so what is an example of ML design round?
Build a churn prediction model. Not model. Build a churn prediction solution, right? So question is, there. Like you could give a simple answer, you could give a complicated answer. And how you give the answer decides your maturity level. Question will be the same for everyone.
Correct. And ML breadth would be like supervised, unsupervised.
Yeah. What is cross validation, K-means?
Yeah.
Even neural network transformer, no one really differentiates, but they call it breadth and depth. But in depth round, you can get some surprising questions which you have not thought about. Breadth will be usually standard things from textbook and things like that.
So give an example of depth.
Depth. Okay, let's say you're discussing some kind of recommendation system, not model system. And let's say you're discussing on metrics. Now, let's say the second stage of the recommendation system expects like 1 million candidates, right? Now, if you are doing candidate generation, the idea should be that we could say that, okay, the candidate generation phase should be a high recall system. But let's say the endeavor wants to probe you that, let's say I know that I need 1 million candidates. If I have a high recall system or I have a high precision system, does it even matter? In the first stage, right? If you know 1 million candidates is something you need. So it's a decision, it's a discussion, and it's about your thinking process, but maybe you have never thought about it before, right? Usually it's recall followed by precision, but what about precision followed by precision, right? Things like that. So these kind of things are, or for example, like let's say you're doing non-negative matrix factorization. How does non-negativity help, right? So there will be some questions which someone else can be on top of because they have worked in that area for a longer time, and maybe you have not thought about it, and it's a surprise to you.
What is the term non-negative?
Non-negative NMF, non-negative matrix factorization.
Okay.
Why non-negativity? How does it help, right? So there are some questions which doesn't sometimes have a clear answer, or maybe it's a surprise to you, right? And these things you cannot get in textbooks. So that I would say is like depth, right? Like people probe you on things they have thought about in their free time. Let's say breadth would be usually like standard stuff, like in textbook and stuff like that. That could also be very difficult, but it doesn't have a surprise element. Like it is in the textbook. Rapid fire we have discussed, coding we have discussed, take home we have discussed. Then there's hiring manager round and HR round.
Devender, can you just repeat one line for rapid fire, please?
Yeah, rapid fire is basically like they will tell you that please forget about interviewer. Like recruiter will also tell you that please don't spend more than 2 minutes on one question.
And the questions will be about?
Question will be super simple, super precise, like what is confidence interval? What is cross validation?
Okay.
What is the loss function for logistic regression? Things like that. Like it will be super simple, super pointed question. Only spend 2 minutes on it. That's the format of rapid fire. This was the new thing I've given it. And they will ask you it's a huge spectrum also. Like it's rapid fire, but they ask a very wide variety of questions from different aspects of ML, which includes testing and all that stuff. So anyways, rapid fire is basically that, like 2 minutes only. And it's a good filtering criteria, I would say. Like you have your non-negotiable question, and if it's so pointed and if you're getting only 2 minutes, you cannot beat around the bush. You have to give the right answer, which a lot of candidates will do. Okay, the next one is HM round, and usually it's combined with culture fit as well. So mostly like HM wants to hire you, right? Like on average. So hiring manager and recruiters are the people who want to hire you. But you have to be good enough. But other ICs may not be that inclined. Like they have a different kind of thinking. But the point is, hiring manager can ask you technical questions also. but he's also trying to judge whether you will fit in his team or the company culture and things like that. And at certain companies, culture aspect is there in every interview hidden. Like maybe you're giving an ML depth round, but they're also judging you on dive deep or bias for action, some kind of some statement of culture, right? Those things can also happen. Then there could also be a dedicated HR round, which is mostly about your career and the non-technical aspects of your career. And it could be a pretty hard interview round. And a lot of experienced people usually would say that behavioral rounds are the most difficult ones. And there could also be a dedicated behavioral round, which is mostly towards some aspect, non-technical aspects of your career. But yeah, mostly it's around that, like culture fit, and also to understand the nuances of your experience, right? Non-technical nuances of your experience. One way to look at it, like if you don't have scar tissues, how experienced are you? So anyways, then if you are interviewing at a senior enough role, there could be VP level round. They mostly care about big picture, your experiences, bigger product level ideas, and understanding of the full product and things like that. And if they're coming from stats background, they can also ask you some ML stats question, which could also be difficult sometimes, but also easy sometimes. It depends. But usually they're trying to give you also a big picture of their team or their company. So they're also trying to sell you why it's a good company, but also they're judging you at high level ideas. Then ML coding we have already discussed, but it's more like there's a dedicated algorithm they want you to implement. And they want you to know all aspects of those algorithms. Let's say k-means or some other algo or whatever, right? System design, not super.
ML coding is not using Python libraries, coding from scratch.
Yeah. Basically showcasing that you know the algorithm.
Okay.
Yeah. Like for example, if you get enough time, can you implement an inefficient version of the algorithm, right? So yeah. System design is here because there are some companies which I see some chats are there. I'll come to that later. Let me cover all this. What is the time? Okay, we are close to. Yeah. So system design is mostly about your engineering thinking, like how to build systems. So you need to be familiar with various components of a system, like messaging queues, caching, like load balancers, and things like that, right? Like usually, like only with these things also you can build a very good system in interviews. But anyways, like system design is something which is mostly focused on engineering skills and system level skills of in engineering. Behavioral rounds I'll come to in the next slides, but the idea is to understand your experience in non-technical aspects. How do you handle difficult situations, or how do you think about certain things? There's also a presentation round sometimes, like you have to prepare a presentation for 1 hour where you choose your best project in your career and present it in a nice way, all the technical aspects, impact, and they will also cross question you. And after this presentation round, your future round will be pivoted on your presentation round. So you better be good at your projects, which is also very rare, by the way. It's surprising and rare that you have worked on the project for 3 years and you have no clue in a certain aspects of your own project, like you have just implemented without thinking. And it is very, very common. Product thinking round is actually a product manager takes your interview and they give you like a business problem. And they think about, they want to talk to you on how to address a certain pain point in the product. And think of it like they want to get a sense of how you think about a product and also how can you do stakeholder management. how can you communicate with non-data science folks? And how do you align with the way in which the problem should be approached at product level? So these are mostly the variety of rounds I could imagine which can happen at a staff level. Yeah, sure. You can unmute yourself and ask.
Just one question. It might be a very naive and big question. So out of all the rounds, which has the highest rejection rate? I mean, what do you think which is the most difficult to crack? Or which is,
So
let's say, quite unpredictable? Yeah.
So I would say that people who come from core ML and data science background, the DSA round is where it becomes difficult.
Okay.
If you're coming from more of an MLE side or engineering side, then ML is where you get rejected.
Okay.
But I've seen that people get rejected in ML depth round and DSA rounds. These are the most common rounds where you get rejected. Usually ML system design rounds are not where you usually get rejected. Like it's very easy to do a decent job in these rounds. Like ML depth, breadth, and DSA. These rounds are very much non-negotiable style of rounds. So I would say that, yeah, I mean, I would say that these are the ML breadth, depth, and DSA is where a lot of rejection can happen.
And one more question on this. So are these rounds curated in such a way like there is a minimum to pass, or it's like, let's say you have 100 candidates and 10 scores the most, and then you interview the next, so the top 10 goes to the next round?
No, no one has question to consider 100 people.
Okay.
Like that, again, it depends on the company.
Okay.
But at least where I apply, they are not interviewing 100 people. 10 is a very big number. They try to interview 2-3 people. Like,
okay. So it's like every round filters people and then, okay.
It depends. Like sometimes once the loop starts, they end the loop. Like, so there is a there's something which is missing here. There's a screening round. So in the screening round, what happens is, like, again, it's not like a super difficult round, but it's like a filtration round where the candidate makes sense. Like he can talk sensible things, right? That is what I would call a screening round. And sometimes screening round can also be like a DSA round. Like it depends on company to company. But a lot of times screening round is just like ask a simple question, the guy should make sense and things like that. And once you have passed the screening round, every round happens.
Okay.
Like one interviewer usually cannot reject a candidate. Like, but there are companies which can cut the loop in the middle if the interview went really bad or you screwed up something and you are aware of it, but you can't do much about it. Yeah, that thing can also happen. But a lot of times, if interview was borderline bad also, you will have all the rounds.
I think your answer makes total sense. Thank you.
One more thing is
also.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, you can continue. I'll ask the question later.
Yeah. So it's the same thing. Anything which is listed here is already in the previous slide. It's more like sometimes interview can be in phase-wise format. You have to pass first phase to go to second phase, and this screenshot I've taken from a company itself. So, for example, this is a phase-wise round where the second phase will have more in-depth, more surprise questions. The first part is more towards like a clean shot, non-negotiable kind of questions. For example, this basic of ML 30 minutes is basically, rapid fire questions. Like they're already telling you like 3 minutes per question. Don't spend more than that. Problem solving, they'll ask you lead code style questions, but again, they'll have different roles. For example, if you're doing a scientist round, lead code style problem is there, but maybe pseudocode is enough. Maybe how you think and how you communicate is enough. It depends. So question is the same. How they judge you can be different. So even if they're asking DSA questions, maybe for a scientist, it is slightly relaxed. But this will not be a determining factor on your rejection. But if you do a mediocre job in lead code style thing, but you are able to show that you have the foundations right, and then you are outstanding in ML, that would be a higher call. But if you are mediocre in this also, that also, everything mediocre, then there's a no higher call. And that is a very common thing in ML space.
What would it take to be outstanding in ML in the sense like how hard would be? Give me an example of a hard question that you should be able to do.
Usually around metrics, like knowing weaknesses of metrics in depth is something which takes some effort, and a lot of people throughout their career don't make that effort. So for example, let's say precision recall curve usage versus ROC AUC usage, right? When will you use one versus the other? And again, there could be a simple answer, there could be a complicated answer, but also the simple nuances, right? For example, a random classifier for a PR curve will give you prevalence as your number. So let's say if your class Q is 1:1000, then 1/1000 is a random classifier PR AUC. Versus ROC AUC is like 0.5 for a random classifier. Now, a lot of people use ROC AUC all the time blindly, which is not sensitive to class Q at all, and you easily achieve 90% area under the curve, and you're super happy, and you're operating in some corner in false positive rates, like let's say 0.08% false positive rate. You're operating in such a false positive rate environment that even if you half the false positive rate, your AUC under the ROC curve will not change at all. But you have reduced false positive rate by half, right? So you cannot prepare. You have to have that mindset, right? To learn. Like this answer is not even in the book, right? Or maybe it is there in some book hidden somewhere. The thing is, in your life, were you ever curious enough to ask this question and do a Google search, right? That is how you build these weird question skills. And if you give this kind of answer, someone should be impressed that this guy knows what he's saying. Another example could be you build a CTL model. How do you unbias it? Do you know any idea? Let's say you are doing RLHF. Is RLHF unbiasing it in a certain way? How? Why? Whatever. So there are a lot of questions which can happen, and no one will tell you that, okay, answer me this question. If there's a certain area you are discussing, yes, we are become curious curator. Not curator, just curious, right? So, anyways, the thing is, if you are curious in your career, okay, I'll give you one instance. Like, I am fresh out of college. I joined Amazon as a research scientist, and there were latency constraints, all those stuff. And the idea was only trees class of predictors we can use. You're free to play with loss function. You're free to play with other things. And at some point, the discussion with my manager came to a point where he wanted to know how trees are built for any loss function. How XGBoost does it, let's say, internally. It is not how textbook tell you. It is different. Now, I didn't have an answer at that point. He just mentioned it. He didn't care about it. But I was the one who was angry in a way with myself that I didn't know the answer. And from that day, I always, when I do a model.fit, I spend a day before doing model.fit to know what that model.fit is doing. And that is how you build knowledge, experience. and weaknesses and strength of various things. Similarly, same situation. Let's say you are in a team meeting and you are trying to justify your choices. And let's say if you have the same mindset in your first 3 months of your career, that you don't want to be in a situation where you cannot justify your choices. Again, whenever you write a document, you do a lot of research to make sure that you know what that metric really means and you have made the right choice. And sometimes one day is not enough. Like you do some research and then after a few years you do some research again and you revisit things again and again and again, right? So the idea is you make conscious choices with awareness, with pros and cons, and you should know the weakness of your choices, the most important thing. So once you have that kind of mindset that before every model dot fit you do research, and before every choice or every document you have written, you know the weaknesses of your choices. Once you have that mindset over a period of many, many years, you will become knowledgeable and experienced. Coding a lot of projects doesn't build experience. Thinking about what you have coded builds experience. And obviously, like when you work in industry, you get problem statements and you face challenges and you also solve those problems, and that also gives you experience. So there are many, many ways to get experience. How you communicate is giving you experience. How you write email is giving you experience. How you write document is giving you experience. So there's so many ways to get experience, right? Okay, so yeah, so this is the last slide, I think. So mostly some examples of behavioral questions. How did I get it? Like I didn't write it. I just randomly Googled it. Right? So while I talk, you can go through them. But the point is that there are many aspects of experience. It is not always technical. It encompasses a lot of things, and that is why you will also see that a lot of senior candidates are rejected in behavioral rounds, right? Including managers. So yeah, I mean, you should have good experience to become a manager, and if you have not made hard choices and not been in difficult situations, what kind of experience do you have, right? So yeah, I mean, that was all about mindset and preparation and data science things. I'll just go through some chats because I see there are some questions. Meanwhile, you can also feel free to unmute yourself and ask if you want to ask anything. Meanwhile, I'm trying to read the chats.
Yes,
Okay.
hi Devendra.
Okay.
Yes. So as you know, like the generative AI has been a hot topic around. So are we expected to build any rack pipeline or some kind of generative AI project during the coding rounds?
No, it would be usually in the take-home round, I feel. Uh, so yeah, I think uh, now the interview is also changing. So what if someone tells you that use Claude but implement it in 2 hours, right? So can you use Claude and implement it in 2 hours? Uh, maybe not. One more thing I wanted to tell you that recently I gave a coding round where they gave me a data set at the dot. Like let's say interview starts at 10 p.m. At 10 p.m. I get an email where I can download the data set, and interview starts at that point. Interviewer is there. He will explain me the problem. He will ask me if I have any doubts in the problem. Now the interview is 2 hours long, and you have to solve that problem in 2 hours, coding the project. It is a data set of 2 data sets. One data set has embeddings, one data set has metadata, and you have to implement it in 2 hours. And sometimes you are stuck with reading the data and you waste 30, 40, 50 minutes.
So, Devender,
Yeah.
on that particular task that you are discussing,
Hmm.
so what were the, let's say, things you could use of, like you could use, I don't know,
Anything.
vibe coding,
No.
vibe coding,
No,
everything.
no.
Okay.
No vibe coding if it's No. Vibe coding is till now I've not seen any interview for myself where if it's a time limited 1 hour, 2 hour interview, vibe coding is not allowed. But
You're saying vibe coding is not allowed, so they are
Yeah.
allowing it. Okay.
no. So
Okay.
no. So I'll repeat that again. Basically, you get a data set. You're allowed to do
Okay.
Google search. You share your screen, full screen.
Okay.
So Google search will give you certain things, but like directly you cannot tell Claude to solve that problem because Claude will solve the problem, right? So because
Okay. Okay.
interview is there to test you in certain skills. If Claude will solve the problem for you, then how will you be tested, right? So I think that is also the right thing to do, I feel, because if the test is for you, then like why should Claude be involved, right? Anyways, you
Okay.
get
Okay.
the
And
answer.
what about the coding aspect? Like, do you have to, let's say, is code from scratch, like, and you could
Yeah,
use some libraries, or it
yeah.
depends on?
You can code from scratch. You have to choose your libraries. So what I usually do is
Okay.
like I have a ready environment where I have all the important libraries
Okay. Okay.
because I'm coding in my own computer. So
Okay.
so I have my environment ready to use so that I don't want to be in that situation where I'm worrying about
Yeah.
installing
Sometimes
things.
you might lose, let's say, 5 to 10 or maybe 20 minutes just installing the libraries. Yeah.
You just cannot install all the libraries. Let's say that, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Torch itself takes like 10, 20 minutes to install, right?
Yes.
So yeah, so I would say that like have your environment ready to use. So yeah, libraries are allowed if it's a project round. If it's a coding round, usually libraries are not allowed, and even if it is allowed, use bare minimum features like they will allow only NumPy, let's say, not Torch.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you can just do the calculations on
Yeah,
computer. Yeah.
and they will allow pandas, let's say, because you have to read the data, let's say.
Yeah. For
So
EDA, you can use pandas. Yeah.
yeah, basically the
Yes,
idea is
yes, Devendra wanted to continue on this only, the basic fundamental. So, regarding the sources which we can use in the interview, like you said, we could utilize Google search. So, it does depend on recruiter to recruiter, or like we are free to reference the documentations available.
I mean, Google will give you links. You can click on the doc also if you want to. I mean,
Like, is it allowed to utilize them? Like,
so if
won't
it's
that give a bad impression, or like we can
no, they
utilize
will
them
tell
straight
you, right?
away?
They will tell you, or you can ask in the interview itself that am I allowed to do Google search? I mean, format of the interview is something you have to ask. How will you know?
Hmm.
Okay. There another one. It might be a funny, but so let's say ChatGPT or Perplexity search. So as you said, like you can use Google. Obviously, let's say you don't remember the syntax for certain. Let's say if you want to do some EDA, you forgot the syntax, but you know the logic, so you can Google it and then use the pandas documents to look upon it. But can't you use, let's say, Perplexity search just for searching that function? Because okay, let's say these ChatGPT, Claude, they solve the problem if you share the problem, but they are also a smart search engine. Like they help you. They save the time. It's like rather than going to Slack Overflow or something like we used to do before 2, 3, or 4 years before. So, what's the take of the companies on that aspect?
I see when you do a Google search, anyways, the top result is AI generated.
Depends. I mean,
Usually it is, and there is like snippets of code you can directly copy.
okay,
So
I got it. I got your
so
idea.
even in Google search, I feel like most of the time you get the AI generated answer which works. Uh, Again, it's company to company, right? I don't know. Like you have to ask, and there's no shame
But
in
I think
asking.
I got your point. It's like you can use the search, let's say, search tool just to let's say, get some
No, my
something that
point is you ask them what is the format of the interview.
Yeah, I mean, let's say if you're allowed to use the search, but the search is only allowed to use, let's say, something which is quite basic, like you can use and see how you can navigate the docs and get the syntax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And mostly the
It's not
idea
like
is you are searching for syntax. That is the idea.
exactly. It's not like you put the whole problem to Claude and you just then said, okay.
Exactly. Let's say I'm giving you a DSA problem.
Yeah.
You can search for how to write a for loop, but you
Yeah.
cannot search for the whole DSA problem.
Exactly. Makes
Yeah.
sense. So one question, are you not teaching any stuff these days?
No, I'm not teaching any stuff these days. I'll let
Okay.
you know if I do, but I don't think in the near future I'm doing that, but maybe after 6 months.
Last year, I remember you were doing a course on recommendation systems, if I'm not wrong.
I was doing another course which ran for 1.5 years.
Okay.
A single cohort ran for 1.5 years. But
Okay.
most people don't want to spend that kind of time, and that's why I shut it down.
And what was the theme of that cohort?
Only ML, nothing else.
Okay. And I remember last time when I checked your website, there were some videos available, like you can watch after paying it. So is
that is still there. You can purchase the recording, but it is a pretty advanced course.
No, my point is, does your that ML long cohort is available via recordings or?
Yeah, that is still available.
Okay.
End-to-end project thinking matters. I agree. Okay, product thinking. Yeah. Can they ask us to implement RAG pipeline in coding rounds? They could then, but then it would be a very specific company for a very specific role. And if this is the difficulty of the problem they want you to solve in 1 hour or 2 hours, then they must pay you a good number if you qualify these rounds. And I feel like everything is fair if they pay you the right number. They are the employers. But you cannot pay like 20 lakhs and expect the world, right?
Devinder, I have a very vague question. So today I had a discussion with a co-CEO of a Swiss company. It's called Zaya Solutions. So it was a job dating meetup. So he was seeing at my interviews, and there was a lot of discussion about my CV, and it was more or less the same talk as you discussed, like how to build up your skills if there are some shortcomings, how to cover up. So he pointed out, like, companies in Europe, or let's say in general, people who can do better regression testing for AI systems, like A/B testing and all. So do you have some insights, like how can someone develop that niche skill, like?
So
I don't
basically,
know
the
how to.
ideas are very simple.
Yeah.
So when let's say you have a data sample, right? Let's say it's sentiment analysis. So let's say the sentence is something like this. I loved the movie, right? And it has a positive sentiment. Now, when I replace loved with hated, the sentiments will flip.
Yes.
Now, if I replace I with another name, right? Then there's an invariance in the sentence that this kind of noise will not change the output, right? So there are various kinds of tests. One is testing with ground truth, which is more towards how good your model is. There's another kind of testing which is just saying that if I'm drifting or not, how good I am with my own predictions in the past, right?
Okay.
So it tells you like whether the behavior of model is changing or not over time, right? So basically there was a research paper long back. It's called behavioral testing in NLP, something like that. If you do a Google search, you'll get
Okay.
it. So it gives you a couple of examples, and right now I don't have the time to go through it, but basically the idea is there are various kinds of testing which can be synthetically generated. And you replace certain words with another word where you are sure that the meaning is not changing or sentiment is not changing. You do the other way around, then sentiment should change, things like that, right? So these kind of things can help you. For example, if I replace loved with hated, sentiment should change, right?
Yes.
If it is not changing, then model has a problem, right? Similarly, if I just change the name, or let's say the president is a well-respected person, but I can change with president with a doctor, and still the answer should be the same, whatever it was, right? The task. Now, basically the idea is if the model's result is changing in expected ways, then it's a good thing which happened. And through these kind of ideas, you can build tests around it, right?
Okay.
And then also phase-wise testing. Like for example, let's say you build a model in phase 1, and you have a golden data set, whatever, and then you see what is correct, what is not correct, or whatever. And then when you improve that model in phase 2, you track only the mistakes you have made in the previous phase, right?
Okay.
Now you see how many of those mistakes has been covered in the new model and how many new mistakes the model has introduced,
Okay.
right? And you can basically build guardrails around it, when you should reject a new model, when you should accept a new model. Because if you don't have this kind of thinking, that like a junior person will do random shit and push it to production, and there's no way to stop that guy. And these things happen at very big companies also. Not
Yes,
international
yes.
companies, but Indian companies. But I have seen incidences where you could claim it is borderline unethical. And measurement is something which in data science I take very seriously. It's okay to build a shitty model. It's okay to do all kind of shit, and it's okay to do bad feature engineering. It's okay to do every kind of shit you can do with the model. But measurement is something I feel you are not allowed to shit on. If I tell you how to measure it, you measure it that way. You don't change it, right? And I personally take that seriously, and I have a lot of friends who want to take it seriously, but they have discovered while the person is exiting the company that he has done nothing for the last 2 years because metrics are not what it should have been, right?
Okay.
And things like that. So anyways, I think measurement is something where people should invest in their time. And there are a lot of intuitions. You should look at that paper, by the way. It has a lot of good intuitions. But roughly that is the idea. Like basically, one aspect is where you test for robustness. There could be another aspect which is checking for fairness. There could be another aspect which is testing for something. So basically, there will be aspects you care about. You build a test suite around it. There could be model drift. There could be a lot of kinds of metrics you can build around it and have guardrails around your new model and things like that. And yeah, and you could call it regression testing because the example I gave you, like in old software
Yes.
engineering, what was regression test? It was basically things which was working before should continue to work after the change. That is
Exactly.
a regression test, right? Similarly, the examples which was correct before should continue to be correct, but in the new
Yes.
version, the mistakes which you are doing before should be lesser.
They should be they should be corrected. Yeah, they should be lesser or corrected too. Yeah.
But it will never be a perfect world. So you will make some new mistakes. You will also reduce some old mistakes. Now, those are the choices you have to make and stuff like that. That is fine. But yeah, I mean, these are only in a regression test. I'm telling you.
Yeah, makes sense.
How to prepare such answer, by work experience it comes, or need to do reading and case studies. Okay, this one we have seen. Yes, be curious. I have to leave. Okay, can you please share on what should an applied scientist have knowledge of? Unfortunately, everything. What kind of questions can they expect? ML, engineering. How much coding should they know? SD1 level coding, system design, SD1 level system design, advanced programming not needed, CPP not needed, Rust not needed, Python needed. What kind of research project background should they have?
Devendra, just one point on that
Hmm.
skill set. So, for example, let's say many companies are demanding TypeScript these days, for developing their backend, because it has better integration with services like PayPal and all. So let's say for me, I come from a research background, and let's say I have an intermediate level in Python, but so I understand the text of TypeScript. But let's say if I have to develop a scalable pipeline, or the company expects me to develop a scalable pipeline, so is this a, let's say, a road I should not walk on, or let's say there are some ways I can make some turnarounds and still pass the interviews?
See, if they want someone with the TypeScript knowledge, I think it would be hard constraint for them, I'm assuming.
Okay.
Now the thing is, if you see just too many job openings which you love, and it is having TypeScript, then you will learn TypeScript. Now it also depends on your seniority level, right? Like if you're a junior person, you should learn TypeScript. At a senior level, I mean, I personally would not walk that path.
Okay.
But everyone is different, right? Like if you want to get something, you have to learn the skill. But I also feel like if you're a hardcore data scientist and if they're so strict on TypeScript, maybe that's not the right role for you.
Okay, makes sense.
And I can totally understand, like all AI engineering jobs have TypeScript, I'm guessing.
Yeah, this is what I asked at the start. Like as you said, like the demand is inflating a lot. Like every time a
No,
company,
the role has a word engineer in it. They expect an
yeah,
engineer.
yes,
Now, if you think ML is your primary skill, try not to take a role which has an engineer word in it.
yeah, okay,
Right? The role should have a scientist in it somewhere.
okay.
Or build the skills. But closer, MLE will be a closer role than AI engineering. I feel like MLE is a more transferable skill. MLE is a long-term skill. MLE is a more highly paid skill. So if you are investing in that area, why not invest on things which is closer to MLE than very specific to agentic stuff?
Okay, makes sense.
But again, if you love agentic stuff, like you upskill and then you give interviews. So I don't have any problem with anyone. Like if you want something, you prepare for it. That is the easy way to look at it.
Okay,
And
thank
sometimes
you.
the gap is so high that it can take you even a year more than that, and that's fine.
Yeah,
Like a lot of junior people, at least, they leave their jobs and go for higher studies or go for research internships or go for RShip for 1 year long and stuff like that, right? Just to develop that skill and portfolio to get good jobs. So everyone is different and everyone has different risk-taking appetite at different phases of their life. So not everyone can do everything. But yeah, I mean, if you want something, you have to prepare for that. And I was addressing some questions in the chat. What kind of research project background should they have? Usually, most of them have some kind of research background, either as a master's student or a bachelor's or in their previous companies. This is I'm answering to Pawan, who has left, but that's fine. So yeah, I mean, some level of research exposure is needed, and the idea is, do you have the skills to read research papers? Most of those are not expecting you to publish all the time. What are some good AI research companies in India? Reasoning, mechanistical interpretability, XAI. Is there good scope of research roles in India? Yes and no. Basically, pure research roles are not that much, and lot of them need a PhD. And that kind of investment of time I also couldn't afford in my life. But yeah, I mean, for example, DeepMind or MSR or like a lot of very reputed openings in research needs a PhD. Other way is like if you can get into a lab which does research, like IBM research, which takes bachelor's and master's also. You can work with IBM research and develop a research profile and follow that path, right? Like, so for example, Siemens Research does a lot of research in imaging. IBM Research does a lot of research with LLMs and other areas, including quantum and stuff like that. MSR does a lot of research. Amazon also does a lot of research. Xerox Research. So there are a lot of companies which does research, and there will always be a cost of pure research, by the way. Like, it's just a different job. You should not assume that research role will pay you higher. It is just a different job. And more often than not, research roles has a cost in terms of lower comp. You are much highly skilled, but you may not get that kind of comp which people with business value creation kind of skills get, right? So yeah, I would say that
you should only go for research if it derives you from it comes internally, otherwise there is no point of doing research, because
yeah,
as you said, the money is comparatively very less comparing to working for a business product and all.
yeah. Not necessarily always. There could be some niche skills. For example,
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
For example, right now, if you can do pre-training and you have hands-on experience in pre-training a large language model. Large means large. That's 100 billion plus parameters. If you have that hands-on experience today, there are people who will give you like $5 million signing bonus and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. But it's
Right?
let's say it's very specific.
But how will you get hands-on? Because how it works, I'm telling you. You are working with an infrastructure which costs $1 billion.
Yes.
A person who is allowed to touch $1 billion worth of items.
Infrastructure. Yeah.
Right? So he is basically paid to handle a portfolio of infrastructure worth $1 billion. Right? So think of it that way, that there are very few people who are getting those kind of opportunities. But think of it like at the scale of money you are handling, right? And that will justify that kind of salaries.
Yes.
So anyways, that is my justification why they might be getting it, right? Anyways, it doesn't matter. So yeah, I mean, I think every big US company has a research team inside them, and including, by the way, the big consulting companies like Bain and McKinsey and all these guys also have research teams. And obviously, like Microsoft, Amazon, Xerox Research, Siemens Research, TCS Research, like there are like, let's say 10, 15 companies who are well reputed as well. Sarvam AI. So there are like a handful of companies, let's say 10 to 20, who have research teams. They will be selective, but then it's okay. Like you have to have that portfolio. The easiest way would be, I feel, if you are young, like go to a well-reputed professor, do a very long-term internship with them or othership with them, publish a paper with them, and that changes everything. And it's not because of that paper, by the way. The process of getting that paper and the journey you have walked and what you have learned in that journey is what will make you fit in these roles, and not that piece of paper. Yeah, is there good scope of research roles in India? Not much, but whatever good roles are there, again, mostly very smart masters, or definitely like most of them are PhDs, but smart masters can also get it. Applied research is much easier to get in. Like even with job experience, at some point you can get applied research, like applied scientist positions, right? Like you don't need a master's or a PhD always. Although a lot of them have it, but you don't need it. With job experience, you can get interviews. Qualify or not is up to you. I think all the questions in the chat is also done. Any other questions?
No, and I think thank you for your time, Devinder. It was really helpful.
Yeah, I'll just wait for a minute, just to be sure no one has any questions. Okay, I hope at least some of you found it helpful. Because a lot of people just need questions, not the process. But everything is in the process and not in the question. I can tell you, I will give you exactly 5 questions.
No, but you have rightly explained, like, okay, you get the list of questions, maybe you just cover them, but if you don't pass through the process, you will not be able to pass
No,
the depth.
I'm telling you, I'll give you 5 questions. Next day I'll take interview and I'll tell you that these are the 5 questions I'll ask. Still you will not qualify. It can happen.
Okay.
So question doesn't matter. The quality of
Yeah.
answer matters.
Yes.
And where will the quality come from? By investing time, by questioning everything, by absorbing everything so much that it feels natural to you. I'll give you another example of maturity, right? For example, recently I was doing an HM round. The question was, what do you expect out of your manager? I was just shocked with the question, right? I have no clue what to say, because it should be not like, it should be a good answer, right? So you just start speaking slowly, and between the words you are thinking, right? And then I gave a good answer, but the point is, how do you answer
And
this
what
question?
answer did you give, if you can share? Because this question might pop up in the interview again.
Usually it will not pop up, but what I told was trust and alignment.
Okay.
2 words. But I'm just saying that different questions can come to you, but you have to be on your feet, and you have to be smart about it. Like if you are just like how do I say, like a lion's cub, right? A lion's cub cannot like hunt. So the thing is, you have to become mature to handle these questions on the spot. You cannot prepare for it. You never know what is coming from that side. And this will only come through like talking to people, stakeholder management, actually getting real experiences, right? And having the right kind of thinking in the end. And it involves communication. It involves learning from your manager when he's not teaching you, by the way. Manager doesn't teach you how to communicate, how to write emails. You learn through being around them, right? And just open your eyes out of your project around you. Like a lot of people are so busy with their projects that they learn nothing out of their project. Just open your eyes and ears and just see who are your neighbors and see what your manager is doing and why they are doing it, and how they write the emails, how they write the documents, the level of communication skills they have, and things like that, right? Observe these things. And again, everything comes from curiosity. Like if you're so busy with your model.fit, you will not learn nothing out of your job. And it's true for everything, right? Like for example, if you're building a rack system, you can follow some tutorial and build a rack system. Now the question is, if it doesn't work, what will you do? Right? And that is where experience comes in. Anyone can follow a tutorial and build a rack system. But the problem is when you join a company and when you build a rack system following those tutorials, and when it will not work for your company's data, what will you do? Right? And experience will teach it. Like no kind of course, nothing will teach you. Like courses can give you guidance, but how much can you learn in 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 1 year, half year? It is a continuous process. A lot of times I tell even my students that problem is in your personality and identity, not in your knowledge. Knowledge is a byproduct of your personality. So people who cannot fix their personality will struggle in their career. That is as simple as that. And that is how I judge people at various situations. It is always a personality or identity problem. It is not a technicality problem. People who have the right mindset will learn, have been learning for many, many years. And when you see them after 10 years of experience, there will be a stark difference between someone who is not learning and someone who is learning. And in 10 minutes, you can see the difference. In one answer, someone can say that I have never seen someone like him in my life or in last 1 year. And the guy has 20 years of experience, right? And if someone with 20 years of experience says that I have not met such a strong candidate in last year, it is a strong signal, right? And it just takes 10 minutes. It doesn't take you 1 hour to judge that. And just to differentiate a qualifying and a weak candidate, it takes 10 minutes again, or 15 minutes, max 20 minutes. It just shows up. The quality of answers, the words you're using to answer, the precision with which you answer, and even if it is not equations, if it's English, the precision with which you say your English statements tells how much time you have spent in the field actively, not just spending time at your desk, but actually spending time, which is called deliberate practice also. Deliberate practice is basically making an extra effort to do high quality learning, right? So everything is identity problem in my definition. If you fix your identity with a delayed effect, you will see the effects, right? Yeah, I mean, that's all I had to share without getting into details. Yeah. Okay, then I feel also like I always spend more time than I have booked for. It's a 1 hour extra today, but I hope it was helpful.
Yes. Thank you for your time.
Someone wants to enter the room now. Okay. Anyways,
Maybe
okay.
you can allow and then say bye.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, good night. Bye.
Good night. Bye.